All right, everybody, welcome in. It's not a great night. It's a terrible night if you really think about it. K-State's now 1-2, and we haven't even finished 10 days in September. We haven't even had a full week of September yet. And K-State, they are big fat losers. This is a crappy football team. This team sucks. This team is soft. We learned that tonight. Uh, Basically, from everything Chris Kleiman said, I thought it was nobody's going to like watching that. You're not going to like to hear what he had to say. You're not going to like the body language. You're not going to like a lot of things from that press conference. But the biggest takeaway is that he seems to be at a point where, whether it's conscious or not, you can't be hard on this team. And I don't think anything's going to get better with this team. I don't know that they care. For the defense to continue to look like they do and not ever get it fixed in this game, that's a care thing. You've got every athlete that K-State put on the field tonight was far superior to anything that Army put on the field. So that's a problem. I thought K-State played soft. I thought the coaching decisions were soft tonight because they could have gone for it. They could have gone to score touchdowns. They did not early on. They settled for a field goal. They settled for a punt. They punted on Army's side of the field to start the second half. It's just a lot of baffling decisions tonight. We'll get into all of them, but this football team does truly suck. And that is unforgivable at the stage that Chris Kleiman and his staff are at in their careers here. They've been in Manhattan long enough to let it deteriorate like this. I mean, the only thing you can compare it to is how Bill Snyder let it get towards the end. And now they're not even doing it. Like, recruiting hasn't dropped off. Recruiting has gotten better. So take that for what it is, but does that mean that they are very Jerome Tang-esque, not bringing in the right type of players into the program to allow it to get to this point where people do view them as soft? And I kind of brushed some of that off at the start of this season. But after tonight, it is a 100% certainty that this team doesn't have the stones to give a damn or to pick themselves up when things are looking tough. I mean, congratulations. You did it to a bunch of scrubs that played on a terrible FCS team last week to barely get out alive, but you weren't able to do it to a team that lost to Tarleton State last week. And I get it, whatever, but there were just too many excuses after the game. There is no reason, there is no excuse that K-State should lose a game like this to an opponent like that. And everybody is at fault for this. It's a massive failure on all levels. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is not accurate, but it would seem that this game, to the best of discovery, was scheduled in 2019. That means Gene Taylor and Chris Kleiman were in charge when this game was scheduled. This is an unforgivable game to schedule. Why you would ever schedule a service academy team, beyond me. Like, it's just a massive headache for you to have to deal with over the course of the season. You're just asking for trouble. And then, look, it doesn't matter. It's a nice gesture, whatever. But again, you're just also asking for it by making Fort Riley Day be the day that you bring Army in to play you. So everybody deserved this loss that's involved with K-State football and K-State athletics. And the season started as a nightmare with taking a bunch of fans over to Ireland and making them waste money to watch you lose over there. But congrats to the athletic department for getting the money. Good for you. You had to use all that money to pay Army to come in here and kick your ass and pants you in front of everybody. And now you have a bunch of people that feel like they wasted money on season tickets this year. Like, I like this staff. I think they've done good things for K-State, but it's clear that they're lost right now. They have a team that doesn't know where to go. And this is a total embarrassment to the way that they have let things get. And I don't know how it got this bad this fast, but somebody's got to step up. And the problem is, I don't think anybody is going to step up. Welcome into KSO Postgame Live. K-State loses 21-24 to Army. I'm Mason Voth. That's KSU fan. That's Drew Galloway. Let's get this crap show underway, gentlemen. I'm obviously not having a good time. And like I say, this stuff, it matters to me on the personal level when I am not on the clock. I want K-State to do well because I went to school there. But when I am on the clock, trying to give the voice to the fans that, I think that they probably feel the same way and understanding how they see it, or at least presenting sides to it. But also, this job's not fun when you cover a crappy football team. And what you have on your hands here is a crappy football team that more than anything doesn't seem to have much fight to them. And that's where the real issue sits, that only a few guys seem to have that fight. And there's a myriad of problems that we can talk about here tonight. So, Drew, what'd you think of the game tonight? Did you have fun?
No. I actually had the opposite of fun. It was concerning at the time that it more or less, and dominating might not be the right word, but K-State was controlling the game in the first half. It was 13-0. You're feeling kind of okay. I always talk about that 13-0, I think, is like the worst lead that you can have in football, because you're one play away from it being a one-score game and then another touchdown just beats you. But you were kind of controlling the game in the first half, and then the defense completely falls apart and lets Army score in the last play of the half. And you kind of come out of that thinking, oh boy, number one, when is the next time K-State's going to see the ball? Because, that's everybody's worst fear when you face Army, is when are you going to see the ball again? And then number two, when K-State gets the ball back, are they even going to be in the lead? Now the defense does step up, get a stop. And this is where I think the game turns. It's 3rd and 5 on Army's side of the field. You've been kind of moving the ball at will when you've had the ball. You've just had like dumb mistakes on why you've had to settle for field goals. Avery Johnson's been cooking all game long. I think that this kind of goes against a little bit of how you would have done it at the time. But I think that you might want to run the ball in that situation, make it like 4th and 2, 4th and 3, and then you go. Instead of, it was the first time all game that K-State had really been boxed up when they tried to throw the ball, and Avery essentially just threw the ball away. And it's 4th and 5. I still think you probably go on 4th and 5, but I think that you're more inclined to go for it if it's 4th and 2, 4th and 3. And then from there, that was the last time that we saw the offense until there was 2:50 left in the game. Like, I think that is why you needed to either run it to make it 4th and short or just go for it on 4th down, because it's still only 13-7. Your defense has been okay, but you could see that the cracks were starting to come. They still weren't able to get off the field on 3rd or 4th down to that point yet. So that's a point in the game where I think it really flips, and where you can kind of get on K-State for that is kind of like a lack of a killer instinct / being soft moment. You have the chance to really put the kill shot in to either get a stop before the end of the first half, or come out and immediately score on offense, because you don't know when you're going to get the ball back against Army. And K-State did neither one of those things and just kept letting Army hang around and hang around and hang around. And that's the worst thing that you can do against an FCS team. It's the worst thing that you can do against a service academy. It's the worst thing that you can do just as a favorite, because the longer that you let them hang around, the more that they feel like they're going to win. And every time it got to 3rd or 4th down, like, you just expected Army to get it. And I think that is where the biggest problem is.
Well, and we'll get to Fan in a second here, but you mentioned just letting them hang around. Giving up a touchdown there was, I mean, it's unforgivable in a lot of situations, but in that game, you give up a touchdown at the end of the half, and it just emphasizes your failures to take advantage of opportunities early on. Because I came up to the press box at halftime, and I was talking about, like, they should have been more aggressive, and I had some gripes about how the offense performed and decisions that were made. And DY was trying to be positive and be like, well, they scored on 3 of their 4 possessions in the first half. It's not like they were, but you can see why that's a problem against a team like this. You scored 3 of your 4 possessions, but you scored 2 more times than your opponent. You were only up by less than a touchdown, and you need to be scoring 3 touchdowns when you should be that much better than this. This is going to be a bad Army team this year.
You at least need to get 2 touchdowns in that scenario. And I think that you would have had 2 touchdowns, but we've talked all the time about mental mistakes in this team. You have a mental mistake on an illegal formation. that wipes away a third down conversion that you would have had the ball at the 10-yard line. I think that you probably would have scored a touchdown on one of those.
Yeah, and there were drops tonight that were costly, and we'll talk about that with the offense and everything. But you just couldn't score only 13 points in the first half. And I asked Chris Kleiman after the game, the first 2 drives of the game, K-State had 4th and 2 that they faced. They kicked a field goal on one of them. They punted on the second one, and then they started the second half with a 4th and 5 at the Army 47. Also punted there. And I think, in hindsight, you should definitely say, yeah, those were mistakes. We should have been more aggressive. In the moment, I felt like they should have been more aggressive. And to highlight and contrast that, Army was aggressive throughout the game. Or I don't even know if they were aggressive. I view it more as they just didn't think that K-State was anything that good. I think there was a lot of disrespect in the way that Army decided to play this game. When they decided not to punt the ball, when they decided to go for it on certain downs, when just a lot of the decision-making that they made, they weren't scared of K-State tonight. And that's a massive problem for a team that just lost to an FCS opponent last week to come in and say, we're not scared of K-State. That is bad news. Fan, from your perspective, what did you see tonight overall?
This game was a further continuation of everything we've seen this season, as far as this team seems to have a contest, which phase of the game can we screw up next during the phase of the game? Is it going to be offense? Is it going to be special teams? Is it going to be the defense? And tonight, all 3 found a way to change the game, not in K-State's favor. And even when the special teams makes their best play of the year, it's at the worst possible time, because you have to put your defense back on the field when they've been playing almost 20 minutes straight of game time between the end of the second half and the beginning of the first half. So just the mental mistakes this team makes, and the inability to have one guy make a play when they really need it. You get it once in a while, but you can't have a playmaker make a play 1 out of every 5 chances. And it seems like that's kind of the rate K-State's going this year. Is they've got a 20% rate for a playmaker making a play. That 4th down throw and catch from Avery to Tibbs, that was one of those plays. But then you get another one later where you have a tight end wide open over the middle, pretty open, and you make a good throw, and it's credited as a drop. I know it would have been a tough catch for Lofton down the middle, and then you have to settle for that field goal. To me,
and that play was right after he was the one that got the illegal formation as well.
And just to talk about that play, that was a curious play, because I noticed it live, because Avery shifted him. He was split out as a receiver on the line of scrimmage. Avery shifted him to the line of scrimmage. And I don't know if it was Lofton at fault or if it was the outside receiver at fault, because Lofton moved back to an H-back position, and then no receiver moved up. So you had 3 guys off the line of scrimmage on the same side. Regardless, it's the same thing we talked about. It's another one of those mental mistakes in a key time in the game that you just can't afford to have in a game that ends up having 0 margin for error, because you put yourself in position by not scoring another touchdown in the first half, and then by the defense giving up a 2-minute drive to one of the slowest, most methodical offenses in the country. And all of a sudden they are able to commit a 2-minute drive and not really have a big play on it and score that touchdown right before half. That really then puts the pressure on this team. And this team, when the pressure is on, they're not a super mentally tough team right now. And they folded again in that opportunity. They had they kind of had the one time they made that happen in winning the game against a not very good North Dakota team last week. And then this week they couldn't repeat that and make that happen again. So just over and over, it snowballs. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if they can fix it and if it's going to continue to snowball or not. I mean, you guys aren't old enough, but I remember 2001 and I remember 2004, which are really the only seasons I think that are similar to this. Both those seasons, K-State was ranked in the top 15 to begin the season. 01, they finished 6-6, and 04, they finished 5-6. And massively disappointing seasons given the expectations going into the year. And this one looks to be on track to be similar to that or worse. I mean, we could be looking at Florida State last year, the Ireland curse, and what can happen with that. And that's unfortunate, but until they prove us wrong that they're going to fix it, that's what it looks like is going to happen.
And I just don't think they are going to fix it. Like if you read into Chris Kleiman's answers tonight, I just don't see a world in which this team is built to handle this. I think you have a lot of guys that in games have been shutting down, or I don't even know if they've turned on to start games. I mean, the defense they couldn't stop anything tonight. They haven't been able to stop anybody since the first half when they got a downpour in Ireland. So they really haven't had a good half this year that wasn't aided by Mother Nature. And it's disappointing, like they just have to do like a couple things and K-State could be 3-0. And instead they continuously put a lot of stress on an offense that really isn't built to handle it right now, because the offense has to play with one arm tied behind its back because the offensive line sucks. And so you can't run the ball. You can't lean on the run game ever. And that's how Army was able to win the game tonight, obviously, was with the run game. So the defense just has to pull their weight even the slightest bit, and they've not been able to. And then, like Fan said, like the offense finds a way to screw things up when they're going. So many of these procedural penalties that continue to be a theme. It's a problem. And then special teams. You finally get a good special teams play. Bryce Norenberg returns a kick for a touchdown. The first kicker punt return touchdown for K-State since the 2022 season. And you waste it. Nothing good comes out of it because, Army goes back out there and you can't get the stop. Like that should have been your saving grace. You just went up a touchdown. You should be able to win the game from that point. And K-State wasn't able to. And that's where I go to say, like, Army wasn't scared of K-State when they decided to kick a field goal there instead of go for the touchdown. And that's where I think the problems really shine through, is that this team isn't built for it. And so there are other things game related that we can talk about. But on the topic of, this team not being tough and looking at a disaster coming your way here, there obviously are questions and concerns about the future of K-State football. And sure, at this stage, the road that K-State's on, there needs to be significant coaching overhaul, because you've got a whole bunch of defensive coaches that, either their players aren't listening to them, which is a problem, or the coaches don't know what they're doing at this stage of the game. That's also a problem. So one way or the other, you probably need to change things there if this continues on this path. But you're going to have player turnover too if this season goes poorly. And you have a lot of marquee players that have eligibility left that I understand this team sucks right now. So you probably go, why would you want players back from a team that's terrible? Well, these are still pretty talented players. And one of those obviously is Avery Johnson, that it seems like every year when you get the offseason and the transfer portal stuff, it's like, oh, Avery should leave. So, Fan, I'll ask you this very tough question. If things continue on this path, do you anticipate a mass exodus? And if you were a player in those shoes, would you leave given the circumstances right now and go find somewhere? Because Avery Johnson can find probably a team that's on a higher status in college football than Kansas State. Dylan Edwards can probably do the same. Like, you have a lot of players that can probably go out and do that if they're not NFL draft picks after this year. So where do you see that?
That is definitely the big concern with this era of college football, with free transfers, that if things go south, people are going to look elsewhere. And what you thought was a great culture going into the season, I think we all, I thought that we had the culture kind of in a good shape, even with last year's disappointing 5-4 Big 12 year. It is going to be easy for players to jump. It is going to be easy for players to listen to good offers from better teams and programs that are in better shape. And that's what makes it tough as coaches and the staff to keep this thing together, because and that's the issue. We talked about, we've seen it on a one game basis the last two seasons with the Iowa State game. We kind of, I think a lot of K-State fans use that as a blame for why those games went south. If you're at that point in game 4 or 5 of the season, what's that look like? Can they keep it together? Can they keep it going? And then you haven't played 4 games yet. I mean, guys could jump ship and use their red shirt and move on at this point if they don't like it. So that's the scary thing. If you go south that quickly in the season, it's easy to be worried about that if the culture is starting to fade. And, I just driving home, listened to a couple different guys. I think Damon Iliayo was on, and he was decent. He had some good things to say, but about why the defense might have struggled. And then Avery was on, and Avery sounded pretty down and dejected. Like, it was not – they struggled to get much out of him. I mean, Stan and Wyatt are doing their jobs and trying to be as positive as they can after a game. But Avery really wasn't having it, and I think he said the right thing in keeping players accountable going into the remaining weeks and not letting this slide. But it's already slid. That's the issue is they're talking about not letting it slide. It's already slid. You're 1-2, and your expectation was
and they should be 0-3. Like they should have lost last week.
Yeah, they really should be, and that makes it even tougher. So it's going to be a really anxious week, a short week going to Arizona. It's going to be a pretty good environment probably out there. It's going to be an interesting week to see what happens with this team. Yeah,
and you mentioned like guys can use, their red shirts if it's going poorly. We had the comment that asked, "Where's Lincoln Cure?" Look, he obviously was banged up, didn't suit up for the game in Ireland, suited up last week, didn't think he could go yet. I don't know what the deal was tonight. It seemed like this would have been a good opportunity that if he thought he could give you something, you put him out there. I will still contend if he is available to be used, you need to be using him, because 5-star talents don't walk in to Veneer very often. They don't play in the Big 12 all that often anymore because OU and Texas are gone. And if you have that, you have to use it. And as we saw again tonight, it's not like the tight ends are playing well. Like, I mean, Lincoln Cure could go out there and drop that ball that Braden Lofton dropped. Lincoln Cure could go out there and get a procedural penalty because he doesn't know what's going on. He's just a true freshman. He could do that. But he hasn't played now 3 games in the season. A quarter of the season has gone by, and he hasn't played. So, yeah, a player like that, overall in theory, not necessarily him specifically because we don't know what he's actually thinking, but he could just say, yeah, you know what? I've already missed 3 games. I don't want to waste my eligibility this year. I'll sit on it. See you later. I'll take off. I'll go to Oregon. I made a mistake when I signed up to come and play in this crap. Dylan Edwards, he played 1 snap. He muffed the punt in Ireland. He's been hurt. He also has his red shirt available. He could say, yeah, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm not gonna ride and go down with this ship. See you later. I think, Avery Johnson also has a red shirt available. He also has, like Dylan, a year left regardless. I think he's got too much pride to do that. I think what you hear in that post game is he knows that he's about to take a mountain of crap for what went down here. And as we've talked about so many times this season already, he's nowhere close to the problem or the reason why K-State has looked like crap. He's had his bad moments, but he's not the reason why they almost lost to North Dakota and why they lost to Iowa State and why they got embarrassed by Army. And
that's why I think that like the offensive grade, like the offense has taken a lot of beating on social media and even in our live chat. The offense to me like gets an incomplete grade. They were barely on the field, like in the second half, especially. Like it would be nice if they were actually like on the field and we could see, but they only ran 16 plays in the second half, and they went an hour of real time without getting the ball. Like, what do you want them to do? Do you want Avery to go out there and play defense? Like, it's not their fault that they couldn't get the ball.
And here's what I would add to this. Andrew says, I said after the KU game last year, Avery looks lost and isn't a leader. I'm ready to see another quarterback as fans or whatever. But the first part of that is what I want to touch on is Avery looks lost, isn't a leader. I will say this. I think Avery Johnson, I don't think he's not a leader, but I don't think, especially given what this team needs, he's the right type of personality to get this thing moving. You look at a guy like he's a pretty even keeled guy. Like he's not, his emotions are not going to fluctuate big one way or the other. And I think people can sometimes mistake that for being disinterested. But even if it's not that, I do think that you can maybe be missing out on a little something extra that you could provide. And Avery Johnson's a better quarterback than Rocco Becht. He's played like a better quarterback than Rocco Becht. But Rocco Becht's team is 3-0 this year. And they have the two biggest wins that they're going to need all season until they get to Arlington under their belt already. And they won it because, not because Rocco Becht played out of his mind, but because there's just a little oomph to him. There's something about Rocco Becht and his personality that I think gets everybody on board to go a certain way. And like, you know, this is the thing. Chiefs haters won't like it. Chiefs fans probably don't want to hear it after losing last night. But like, it's the Patrick Mahomes thing, where it's the Tom Brady thing, where those guys, even when they don't play their best, for some reason, there's something about them that they can get all of those guys, you know, tens and tens of guys on the sideline to hop on their back, go with them, and find a way to get the job done. And I do think that sometimes you wish that there was a little bit more of that. Just, I mean, aggression's probably the way to say it, like aggression in the way that Avery Johnson views things. And that might be something that you're leaving a little something on the table. It's very nitpicky. It's, again, not any of the reason why K-State's 1-2 and looks like they're on the verge of a massive collapse right here. But if you want to try to find something where I don't think Avery Johnson's doing it or has it right now, I think it's that. And like, you know, he's 20, 21 years old. Like most people's personality, it doesn't change that much by that point, unless there's something seriously wrong with them and they need to get it corrected. And I don't think there's anything wrong with Avery Johnson as a person. So I don't think you're going to be able to get that change and shifted, which means other guys are just going to have to become accountable and actually play better and do their job, as opposed to thinking that your quarterback, who's dealing with all this stuff that's going to come his way unnecessarily, is going to set the tone for you. Like, other guys have to step up, and you would hope that, you know, some of these guys look around and they look at Avery Johnson and go, I'm letting that guy down because he's going to take the most heat. He's getting the most money on this team. He is the most notable person on this team, and we're letting him down.
This team needs an ass kicker, just from anybody. Like, this team just needs some fire and some heart. And I think that's been like the most concerning thing through 3 games, is like you don't see anybody play with a ton of energy or heart or really show a lot of emotion after plays, like it, especially defensively. Like it's like a small thing, but like you don't see somebody like Reggie Stubblefield going crazy after a play, or Kobe Savage in 22 or 23, or just like there are a lot of guys that like you can tell like, oh, like they have a lot of swagger to them. Like even like Julius Brents was never like a big trash talker. Like when he made a play, he'd let you know about it. This team doesn't really.
Hey, Drew, the defense would have to make a play for that to actually happen.
I mean, that is part of the problem. But like you got to have somebody that has a lot more heart and a lot more fight. And defensively, like you can tell that they don't have a lot of fight right now, because you don't let a team go 16 of 29 on the critical downs if you have a lot of fight. Like it was an all-around disaster class and getting off the field. And I don't know how it gets better. Like I saw people ask, like, at what point do you turn to some true freshmen? K-State's playing 6 true freshmen right now. Like, at what point is that too many? Like, you can't just...
They're getting players out there that, like, they think can play for them right now. And that's the biggest problem.
Yes.
Is that, I mean, guys aren't good enough right now. They don't have good players that they can trust out there.
Yeah, the solution is not playing more guys that probably aren't ready for college football yet. Like that's where it gets kind of dark, because on a short week, the defense, again, raw numbers. Mason and I talked about this while Fan was getting ready. Raw numbers wise, the defense, it doesn't look like they played terribly until you really like dive in and you see just how many plays Army ran, just how many plays they ran in the second half.
Because Army never felt like K-State was going to stop them on a key down, and they didn't, because Army was 6 of 7 on 4th down.
And like the thing that makes this offense for Army so much more frustrating and to face, and like why it feels like even worse when it's happening to you. Army had one play of over 20 yards in the game. And like it truly was that death by 1,000 paper cuts that, like, when Mason and I talked about this game during the week, like we thought that if K-State limited the explosive plays, they would find a way to at least get off the field, because when you make a team run this many plays, eventually they're going to mess up. Army never really messed up tonight, and that's a credit to them. But also, like it's a discredit to K-State, because
once again, you don't even force a turnover.
Yes, you didn't force a turnover. You didn't really get Army in the second half in many 3rd and long situations outside of when they kicked the field goal, which I thought was very odd for them to kick a field goal at that point in time. But then you get the onside kick and then it works out for Army. But like you didn't get them in 3rd and long. You didn't really win on 1st down on defense. This loss is 100% on the defense, because the offense just wasn't on the field much. Like it's hard for me to blame the offense when they had like 43 total plays. Like I bet that Matt Wells probably only got through like half of his play calls.
Yeah, and only 16 of them in the second half. And that's a massive problem. And this is another thing that I would question Chris Kleiman saying in the post-game press conference about, like, oh, this is just what Army does to you. They get the ball and then, like it can be a detriment to have this happen, like the kick return and all that. It's great, but like, why is Army an AAC school that isn't even really able to recruit by the same standards as legitimate FBS teams? Why are they able to do that to you, a Big 12 program, and you're not able to do anything of the likes against Army? Like K-State, again, the run game was not significant tonight. It had problems, and everybody had issues. I think you probably needed more Devon Rice than what we saw, but like you're saying, Drew, tough to know how much we would have seen him because you didn't get that many offensive plays. But I mean, Joe Jackson's kind of weighing this thing down. He hasn't done anything spectacular through 3 games. And then, the ball hits his hand that ends up turning into the game-ending interception. So I don't know. Fan, what do you make of the conundrum that we've just discussed here?
Well, I mean, I think, we talked a little bit about it early, that if K-State can't run the football, K-State ran it 18 times for 75 yards, just over 4 yards a carry, and a 33% success rate on those rushes against Army, who's not, even last year, wasn't known for their defense. Like, their defense isn't a strength of that football team. They may be disciplined and in the right spot, but you should be able to move the football against them. K-State found success finally throwing the ball down the field. You had the near touchdown to Bradley that was ruled incomplete. You then had the touchdown to Tibbs that was a touchdown. Then you had a near touchdown to Lofton that was dropped. But then you don't get chances. I mean, when Army scored to take the lead, the second half snaps were 43-4 at that point when Army took the lead in the game. K-State got a few more, down the stretch at the end of the game. And then even then you had the great post pattern to Tibbs down the middle, and they make a great play on the ball, but you still got to come out. That's another one of those chances where you have a chance to make a big play, get the ball deep in Army territory with plenty of time left to go down and score, and they make a great play. Then they have the corner route to Jace Brown same thing. Same kid comes and makes the play on the ball, gets 2 pass breakups in a row when you have an opportunity to make plays. And when you have not any opportunities in the second half or not many to make plays, you have to make those plays at that point in time in case they couldn't do it. And I agree with you. The 4th and 5 and less situations K-State had that they didn't take the chance. And I think probably in hindsight, Kleiman finally being conservative on fourth down, I think he's thinking, well, I don't want to give Army those opportunities. Well, you just did eventually. And it's just a disappointing ordeal to put your team in that situation where the margin for error just shrinks and shrinks and shrinks as the game goes along. And then Army makes the plays when they need to, and K-State doesn't. And that's really, the way the game came down. That is the team that made plays was Army when they needed to. And I think, D.Y. talked a lot about it this week as well. Who is the toughest team on the field? And K-State has not been the toughest team on the field in any of their games this year, consistently, down to down. And that's not what you would think you would see from a Chris Kleiman team, but that's what this team is right now.
Yeah, well, and it just, it goes back 2 years. This team hasn't been able to execute on quarterback sneaks because over the last 2 years, whether it's Will Howard or Avery Johnson, and maybe it's the quarterback, maybe it's because the offensive line has deteriorated. I mean, it wasn't good tonight. And even on the only offensive touchdown that K-State scores tonight, Sam Heck screws up. He rolls the ball back to Avery Johnson. Like, he was asking for trouble before the play had even had a chance to develop. And like, you go back to it, like the offensive line is the root of the problem for the offense right now. And then on the defense, like, good luck trying to figure out what the issue is, because the DBs really didn't have to do anything tonight. Like, they didn't have any passes really coming their way except for a big 3rd and 7 that Zayshawn Rich decided he didn't want to be in the same zip code as a receiver, which I don't know if that's a player breakdown, but we've seen it happen so much over the last however many years that I would tend to believe that's a Joe Klanderman and Van Malone problem, and it's inexcusable to give the guy the sticks and then still be 3-4 yards beyond him. I mean, it's ridiculous stuff. And look, I get it. I'm not fast. I couldn't do it. I'm not a football coach. It's not my job to figure it out. But when we see this kind of thing happen over and over again, how is some dude that is playing at Army got the advantage on you there? How can you not go and make a play? One play was asked to be made of you, and nobody stepped up to make that play on defense. And again, this is not to disparage Army. Like, thank you for your service, but we can understand the reality of the situation. Those guys are not there because they're football players. They are there because they are going to serve our country. Everybody on that sideline that has a scholarship at K-State, they are here to be a football player, not a student. Like that, it sounds crude. It sounds, I don't know what it sounds like to some people, but like, that's the reality. If you're playing Power 4 football, you're here for football. You can get your degree. You can go on to have a great career after that, but football is your number one thing that you're here for. And K-State looked like a team that wasn't, they weren't the better team. They weren't the more physical team. They weren't a lot of things. It's a shameful performance that they put on here tonight. And we'll see how things look on Friday against Arizona. I'll bring this comment up from Chris Beyer. He put, Aikman loved being the good cop under Jimmy and hated having to be the bad cop under Barry. Is the problem that Kleiman or Wells won't be the bad cop and Avery can't? Well, I will say this, and this would go to being a criticism of more of the coaches on the team, is that we already discussed that I don't think that is Avery's temperament to be the, get on you type of guy, that I think Will Howard could be at times. Like, Will Howard was a bit of a red ass. When you look at this coaching staff, we've seen serious emotion from Chris Kleiman in the past. We've never really seen it from the frustration side and the anger side. And look, these guys, they can be different in practice and when it's just them as opposed to when all the eyeballs are going to be on them. But we don't see that a lot. We've seen him in tears on the field with Skylar Thompson when he thought he was hurt. That's a serious emotion. We've seen, an exuberant Chris Kleiman when really significant things successfully have happened on the field for his players. We've seen a very downtrodden and sad Chris Kleiman for other things, but we haven't really ever seen him go nuts on somebody. And occasionally he'll give it to an official. He's still pretty respectful. He doesn't go to Matt Campbell level. He doesn't go to Lance Leipold level. And maybe this team needs somebody like that, because maybe Matt Wells can be that, but he hasn't been here long enough to really know. And he may not feel like it's his place. I mean, of the guys that have legitimate say on what happens on this team, he is the most junior of the coaches on this staff in terms of how long he's been in it. And maybe that can be intimidating to some guys when you come into a staff that has been together for as long as most of the guys at K-State have been. I don't think Joe Klanderman is that guy. We at least haven't seen it. Like, he's also one of those more kind of even-tempered type of guys. And I think you probably lack that. But the other thing I would say to this, Chris, I don't think Chris Kleiman feels like this team could handle that. I think he feels like this is a team that would shut down. And we talked about it during basketball season this past year. But Bruce Weber was definitely more of the coach that was I'm going to give you a hug and a kiss and tell you it's going to be okay. And for the most part, he had the players that worked for. Like, because, I mean, he had dogs. Like, let's be honest about it. Barry Brown was a dog. Kamal Stokes was a dog. Dean Wade, they kind of had to get it out of him, but we now know Dean Wade is a dog. And Cartier Jada, yeah, he had problems. He was a dog. Like, I don't think there are any dogs on this team for K-State. And I think these coaches realize it and know that, if you try to get on them, the puppy's going to shut down on you. They're just going to go into the corner and they're going to whimper. And that's a significant problem that you're not going to be able to fix this year. And so you kind of have to just hope that everything falls into place and gets figured out. But that's a pretty good case for why it's not going to happen and why this is going to be probably the second most disastrous year in K-State football history.
Yeah, I'm okay if K-State never plays overseas or plays a service academy ever again. Like, I'm okay.
But, it sucks and it didn't help. They could have played anybody, and I think you get these results right now. Maybe the Ireland thing set things into motion, but this team clearly just sucks, and they're going to lose next week at Arizona, and they'll probably come home and play with fire against a terrible UCF team. And then they'll get smoked by Baylor. They'll give up 45 points to Sawyer Robertson and 600 passing yards because they suck.
The results, whatever, I'm just okay. I don't need to see Navy roll through Manhattan. I don't need to see Army play again. It's just not good. And then JB Bradley was also in a cast during the game, so that's also good.
Yeah, that's bad news, Bears. Fan, you're typically a little bit more positive than us. I mean, do you think there's any way that this is some kind of fluke through 3 games and that this hole can truly be dug out of to make this a meaningful season in any way? Because this team wins 7 games, nobody cares. That's still a problem this season. You win 8 games, nobody cares. They're checked out. Like, you have to turn this thing on and own Big 12 play when it starts in 3 weeks when you come home to face UCF.
It's going to be tough. I just think it's tough when things look this bleak this early. Like, we've even talked about, even in the one win, it wasn't a good thing. We talked plenty about it last week. I think we won't know a lot more after Friday's game, but if they can win that game on the road at Arizona, maybe, and I don't think Arizona's a great team by any means. I'm not saying that, but given what this team has shown the first 3 weeks, that seems like a very hard game for this team to win at this point, given what we've seen. So at this point, you're looking for any sliver of hope you can find. If you can get that win and then somehow, you get a home game against UCF, who I think is probably the worst team in the league. Maybe West Virginia's up there after what we saw from them today. But if you can get those 2 wins, then you got to go to Baylor. And Baylor just went and won at SMU and probably shouldn't have, but they won the game, so it doesn't matter.
They fought back.
They fought back and won a game on the road against a playoff team from last year. So, it's hard to find much to be positive about right now. I mean, there's just so many issues that we've seen over and over with this team. And I think the defense has the edge of what is the worst part of this team right now. I think the special teams is next, and I think the offense is third. And I don't think the offense has been very good. So you look at that combination of your three problems on this team, your problem areas on this team, and your best one isn't even that great. How do you fix it? How do you get back to winning football? How do you change the mentality of a team that the mentality looks off through the first 3 weeks of the season in a hurry? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It's tough when it's going this negative this quickly. So the only way this works is if Avery does become like a Heisman type level player, and the defense can at least get better than mediocre, because that's all they've been so far. And
mediocre is kind of nice.
Starting with that second half against Iowa State, I think we've just seen over and over in tough situations, the defense just cannot step up and make plays. And it took the offense winning the game last week because the defense really didn't get it done. And the defense just simply didn't get it done tonight. The Army just keeps scoring in the second half and scores right before halftime. And it's hard to find much positive right now.
So I want to ask you about that. You mentioned, you think maybe the only thing that saves us is if Avery turns into that Heisman type of player. To do that, his legs would have to be involved.
Yeah.
Only 3 carries tonight for 15 yards. There are questions about that. Most notably, people pointing out that Army's backup quarterback ran the ball a bajillion times tonight, took hit after hit by multiple guys every time he went down. Believe it or not, he played all, 84 snaps of the game that it turned out to be. He made it through okay. He did not die out there, and his team won with him running the ball that many times. I understand it's a little bit different, the types of hits that he would take in that offense versus the type of hits that Avery Johnson would take. But what do you make of the run game usage by Avery Johnson and the K-State offense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He hasn't looked that special running the football this year, so that's number one. I think maybe his most explosive looking run was the late scramble against North Dakota last week that we've seen. Nothing looked great today. He had 3 runs on read options that were okay. It looked like one time he gave it on a read option, maybe could have been his biggest play of the day, but I don't know how many times those read option looks are actually called gives automatically. I think that sometimes is part of the game plan to limit those hits. And again, we didn't see any scrambles today. I thought maybe even on that 4th or 3rd and 5 that we ended up punting right after halftime, I thought maybe he could have scrambled on that one.
Yeah.
And had a chance, because Army dropped 8 guys and only had 3 guys rushing on that play, and there was kind of a gap on the right side where he ended up throwing the ball away, as Drew said earlier. So, I mean, I don't know. My target for him is to run the ball 8 to 10 times per game, but that's given you're playing 70 snaps or 60, 70 snaps, not 43.
Yeah, he would have been close to 8 to 10 snaps if K-State gets the normal snaps that they do per game.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been closer. And then your game plan changes when the last drive you're really in desperation mode and throwing it anyway. You really didn't have a normal – you had basically 2 quarters and 1 drive of normal snaps, and then you didn't have any other normal snaps the rest of the game. So it's hard to say if it was off this game, but given what we did see, we didn't see anything special in the runs he did have in this game. So I'm kind of with you, Mason. You mentioned it earlier. Like, we haven't seen anything super explosive in the quarterback run game from him so far this year. The best plays have been Avery Johnson throwing the ball down the field. Like, that's been K-State's best offense by far. If anything, why do we wait so long to throw the ball down the field? We didn't see those downfield throws until the second quarter. Like, that's got to be the approach now, is get him throwing the ball down the field and attacking defenses earlier in the game to give this team a chance, and quit throwing the ball short of the sticks on third down. Quit throwing all these out routes and short routes. Give him some more options to throw the ball down the field. Is what I would say.
And I would say if you want one criticism of the offense, and where Matt Wells, I don't know if he needs to go rogue or if he just needs to, Chris Kleiman's word from 2022, nut up. But they start the game. What hasn't worked all season? The run game. Joe Jackson up the middle, loss of 1. Okay, so then 2nd and 11, they throw to Joe Jackson, incomplete. So, they started off with a lot of we're not good at this. Let's be pretty bland and boring about it. There you go. That is where I think you could find the criticism, is that they haven't seemed to just start games by deciding this is what we're good at right now. We need to do that. The passing game has looked explosive this year. We've talked about this. You're getting the best quarterback receiver hookup that you've had certainly since 2022, and maybe beyond that, in terms of just the fact that you've had 3 legitimate wideouts that are making plays for you. And Avery Johnson is hitting the benchmarks that we set in the offseason that we thought he needed to be at as a passer. He's doing it. He's making some great throws. And yeah, there are a few drops in there, but you need to do it early. Forget trying to be the team that you want to be. Go out and be the team that you are right now. And that might be the one criticism that you can have of this offense. And I don't know if that's a Matt Wells problem or a Chris Kleiman overseeing this team problem, but either way, it's an issue, and it falls back onto the coaching staff, because they're the ones that are making those decisions. Players have to make plays, but if repeatedly you're out there and able to see that they can't make those plays, quit putting them in that position. And running Joe Jackson up the middle is not working. Hasn't worked for 3 games now. Cut it out.
Yeah, I'd like to see more runs in space if you're going to run early on. I mean, they did throw what felt like a million times in a row to start the North Dakota game. So, I mean, I guess you got that too. So, I mean, there isn't a lot to be happy about or positive about right now. I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, in the comments, take a look at KU's offensive scheme. They had 3 yards rushing today, and Missouri outgained them by 370 yards. So let's not pick KU as our standard today as a team that's greatly coached on offense.
Well, and that's the thing. Somebody sent a thing today, or I've seen others mention, Leipold had a horrible day from an in-game coaching standpoint. You could say that he legitimately lost the game for Kansas. Chris Kleiman didn't have a great day, but that's just because his team's been bad overall this year. So I don't know that any direct decision that he has made has been as bad if you weight it like Lance Leipold's today. Let's bring this up to close things out. I got 2 more things. Special teams wasn't ready for that kick. I don't care what Kleiman says. He can be blind or lie. I saw them not ready for that comment from JRF Josh. Both of you, what did you see on the onside kick that ultimately won Army the game, where they just blasted the ball at Mikey Bergeron?
Honestly, I've never seen that work in a game. And I do think K-State was kind of ready for something, but you're never ready for somebody to just kick the ball as hard as they can right at you. And because Mikey Bergeron was actually closer than he usually is on the kick return, because he was kind of hovering around that 10-yard mark. But it's a special teams mistake. But I don't know who in their right mind is oh, hell yeah, Army just scored. They're going to kick it as hard as they can right at one of our guys.
So from my angle, I was kind of blocked by the Army player, so I couldn't see it down the field. But you said, Drew, you thought that once he started to run the way he did, that
Bergeron turned his head.
Thought that, yeah, and that's where I would say like that, back to our old pal Nate Katzer, who probably, when Bryce Nuremberg took that kick back, he's probably like, oh my gosh, I've been saved. Thank you. Thank you for this blessing. Like, I'm the man. I'm the best damn coach that this team has right now. And then he's got that on his plate to face. And I would say that's where, if you've got one, you got one job as a special teams coach, and it's don't screw up horribly. And he allowed his unit to do that. It would be, if you think that some tomfoolery might happen, don't just immediately be okay with accepting, oh, look at that, they're going to actually just kick us to the ball normally. What idiots. Thank you for that gift. That would be where you say, be ready for it. Because we know there's a possibility. We've seen teams try this before, and these guys watch so much football and get such an understanding of what could possibly happen. Things that they may never actually experience in a game, they are typically ready for. At least the great coaches are. And to have that moment where, I'm not going to fully put it on Bergeron because, like you said, Drew, he's got to get ready to do his job. Nuremberg already took a kickback. You're probably thinking, I want to give him another chance. We need to get down there, get ready to block. But if you think it could happen, you probably don't take your eyes off the ball until it's over your head.
I guess for me, that's just such a tough play because
it's hard.
Even if Bergeron is ready, that ball was kicked so hard and so fast, right at him. Everybody's killing Bergeron if he doesn't actually catch the ball. And so, I don't know. Fan is the actual coach.
No, he's in an unforgivable spot in that position in terms of, but the optics of it, and this is what Kleiman and Tim Fitzgerald kind of went in on each other for in the post game about, was that there was the turn and that it didn't seem then that he just kind of conceded on what was going to happen. But Fan, what did you make of that play?
I think Drew is right. It's goofy because it wasn't a true onside. It wasn't like a surprise onside kick. But at the same time, I agree with you. He turned, so it didn't look like we were ready for an onside kick. But I think the Army plan was, we're just going to kick it hard on the ground right at a K-State player. At worst, it's a squib kick. We just gave up a kickoff return touchdown. We're not going to give them an opportunity for that.
They're calling plays like pansies anyways. They just want to kick field goals and give us the ball back. We'll take that.
So I mean, it's just another one of those things where it's the worst possible situation for K-State, because it's not a true onside, but it's also it's super bad luck because it bounces straight back at the Army return so they can recover it. That could have bounced out of bounds. It could have bounced down the field, the way they kicked it. I'm just going by the way they kicked it. So you would hope you're ready. And I agree with Drew. Even if you're ready and you're playing it like an onside, it's going to be tough to field a ball kicked as hard as you could. At the moment, I was like, oh my, here we go again. But, looking back at it and watching it again, it was a freaky play but again, that play happens because you screwed up so many times before that play.
Yeah.
On offense and defense.
And so then when you do it again on a situation like that, you can't forgive stuff like that, because K-State ended up in this position tonight where they lost 24-21 because they kept forgiving mistakes or assuming, no, it's okay, we're going to get this figured out at some point, and they never did. Chris Kleiman's answer about not going for it on those 4th and shorts on the first 2 drives of the game, not going for it on 4th and 5 in Army territory on their first drive of the second half, almost their only drive of the second half. You're just pushing it off because you think for some reason things are going to go differently the next time. And they're not, it's like the person that has a bad relationship with a distant parent or some kind of relative. And you're like, well, hey, they haven't always come through, but next time, Dad's going to be there to pick me up, and he's going to be at my basketball game next time. No, your dad's a POS, and he's not going to be at your basketball game next time. Stop acting like things are going to change. And K-State, for some reason, keeps thinking that defense is going to show up, or that, the catastrophic mistake on offense or special teams isn't going to happen. And that's just where I go to, you knew something might be up, or Chris Kleiman claims that they did. you have to at least act like you're a little bit more prepared for it. And the turning of the body is what would indicate that you weren't coached to just eye on the ball, eye on the ball, eye on the ball. Okay, it's over me. Now let's go. Like, that's where I bring this back to. The coaches just have been so poor this season in every possible way, even in the little things, to where they're not even giving themselves the chance that on these 50-50 or weird situations, they're coming out on top.
I have a question for Fan about this.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen that work in a game?
Only one time, but it was because it was in a game that I was part of, but our kicker didn't mean to do it and kicked one so bad and hard like that we recovered it. And it was kind of the same thing. He just happened to kick it right at a guy, and it worked out for us. And the sad thing in that game was we were like up 28 or 35-0, so it looked like we were trying to run up the score with an onside kick. And I had to tell the other coach after the game that we did not do that on purpose. That was not intentional.
The only times that I think I've seen this work, the kicker actually missed the player that they were kicking at.
And I will say for Bergeron, I think someone said in the comments, I mean, they're taught to watch the approach of the kicker. And if it looked like he was giving a normal approach to kick it hard, like there's a difference in how a guy kicks an onside, how a guy kicks it normal. And so I will give him a little bit on that one. And it was a fluke deal, but it's still, it looks bad. And even if all of those things are the case, it looks bad. But again, that's not why K-State lost the game.
Yeah, and I don't want
opportunities to do it.
I'm not putting that on Mikey Bergeron. I am putting that on Nate Katzer and coaching. Like, that's a coach thing to where I mean, Drew's laughing, but like, I'm serious here. Like, this is not me trying to be an ass to Nate Katzer. This is me trying to be honest with him. Like, it's your job to make sure that something doesn't get screwed up there. And if you think that something smells fishy, then it probably is. And you need to have guys be prepared for that. And K-State was not. Like, in a normal situation, handle it like how Fan did. Because I can tell you from watching it, when the kicker started to go like he did, I thought, oh, they are just going to kick it like normal. Okay, whatever. But I was 40 yards behind where the kick happened, maybe more. And it's not my job to be ready for it, you know? Like, I'll follow the ball where it goes with the camera. Like, you have to be able to just say, hey, look, because in this situation too, it's simple. And we've talked about it before. You don't have to return these kicks. You know, you can let it go through the end zone. You can fair catch it. Like, in that situation, you should probably go into don't mess up mode, because K-State had the lead in that point. It's not like you needed to make the big play there. You just need the ball, settle down, give your defense a second to breathe. So if you it's as simple as telling those guys up front, hey, we think they might be up to something. We need to be prepared for this. Like, eye on the ball. Don't take your eye off the ball until it's over your head and you've seen what's happened with it. And, you know, I think this strategy of kicking it really hard at the opposing team, we've seen it a few times in the NFL since they changed the onside kick rules and really the kicking rules in general. Doesn't that seem like a problem for Nate Katzer, who came from the NFL ranks? I would just throw that out there. Whatever. You know, to Fan's point earlier, it's just the whole when it rains, it pours type of thing. And like, that's what's going on right now for K-State, is that one thing is just spiraling into another, and you should just be prepared that it's going to get worse because this team's not doing anything to correct it.
It was the most this team thing that could possibly happen, that you got the kick return touchdown for the first time in what felt like a decade. You got off the field and forced a weird field goal. Like I said, like that field goal to me felt fishy. And like,
yeah, exactly. The fact that they were cool with kicking the field goal there, you should have been like, oh, they probably got something up their sleeves.
And like, K-State wasn't field goal safe, so I'll give them a little something for that, I guess. But that, like, you finally get off the field, and then a fluky play that hits one of your upmen and on the cleat and bounces 10 yards back towards the Army return. Insane.
Well, the saying "fortune favors the bold," like that. K-State was not bold tonight. Army was bold in a lot of the things they did.
And then you knew that there was no chance that K-State was going to stop after that. That's one of those, again, like when it rains, it pours. When a big play happens like that, very similar to when like a team has the bases loaded with nobody out and doesn't score. You know that next team is probably going to score in the next inning because that's just kind of how it goes.
I think I've seen the Royals do that about 10 times this season, where they get runners at second and third, nobody out, and what do you know? Like it typically starts with Salvador Perez grounding into a double play ball, but it's in such a weird spot that the guy at third can't go home. It's disastrous.
Maybe the Royals will make the playoffs. That'll make us happy.
Yeah, calm down. 1 game back, 20 to go. Let's go Royals. They may be our only good thing to go in September here.
Yeah,
I mean, like going from the Chiefs not being able to get off the field last night to then watching this was a pretty fun experience.
Hey, it maybe if Drew's Atlanta Braves wanted to step up and not crap the bed tonight, the Royals would be even closer to a wild card spot. But whatever. Drew, I think you need to get to the game tomorrow. 12:05 first pitch.
Well, I'm 6 hours away, so that's probably not going to happen.
You got time. You leave now, you can tailgate all morning. So how about that? Let's end it with this because we've gone for over an hour. We could probably go more just to talk about how crappy things are right now.
Yeah, get kicked out of the press box.
Yeah, I am worried about that. They did turn the Jumbotron off finally. I don't know if the music's still playing outside. It might be. I don't know. They also, again, if they're like, oh, this guy, he's giving it to the team right now, get him out of there. I will say, when I showed up today, they did not have me on the list to get a photo vest. They were scrambling on 4 or 5 pages, but they still gave me one. I did make a joke. If you've got a sharp mind, you might be able to guess what that joke was. It involved another team of some kind. I'm not going to say it on here, but you can make some guesses. Drew, I'll tell you off the air. Last question from Jay Brock. He said, this was a brutal day for the Big 12. Worst loss: K-State, Oklahoma State, West Virginia. I'll throw Arizona State on there as well. I'll start. It's very clearly K-State to me because they have 2 other games where you look at it and say they've been failing. And that's why that first half felt so bad today, is that if K-State had won in Ireland and they had dominated last week, you just go, yeah, Army, well, weird game. We know it's going to be weird. But you have the other 2, and you have to take the full sample size there. And you already have 2 losses before a full week of September's ended. Like, the season is very close to being in the trash. Like, actually, we assume that it's going to be in the dumps, but like there's still time. It just feels like a pretty lost cause at this point. So it's absolutely K-State because Oklahoma State was going to suck. They had no chance of winning that game. They weren't even going to be within 4 touchdowns today. So, I mean, it was worse than what was expected to look that bad, but it didn't matter because Oklahoma State's outlook for the season hasn't changed. West Virginia, same type of deal. That's a team that is going to be bad this season. They just hired a new coach. Like, that's the difference here. West Virginia just hired a new coach after being bad the last few years. Oklahoma State knows that Mike Gundy is on his last legs. Like, he's gone after this season if they didn't get it fixed. He's making a ton of changes on Oklahoma State's terms, not his terms. So we knew it was going to be bad.
I also don't think that many people are super surprised that Ohio beat West Virginia. Like that spread was.
Well, I mean, West Virginia was only like a 3-point favorite today at Ohio. And then Arizona State, like, bad loss for them, says, the concerns about no Scattaboo were real and some of the other problems they might have. And as we've seen the last 2 years, like, Oklahoma State played for the Big 12 title in 2023. And we all went at the time, how the hell did that happen? And they turn around the next year and they prove why we were right to question it. Like, it's not unfathomable that Arizona State has that same type of thing happen to them. I don't think they'll be as bad as Oklahoma State was last year, but it may get a little dicey. But either way, they went on the road and they lost to an SEC team that while Mississippi State hasn't been good, they could be a little bit better. They've got capable athletes out there. Like, it makes sense. It would not have felt good if K-State lost to Mississippi State today. We'd still be having a lot of these same conversations. But it's a little more forgivable. And Arizona State, again, they've only lost one game this year. K-State has 2 losses.
The answer is clearly K-State, but I would say Arizona State is easily second because it feels like they are closer to like 6-6 than a team that looks like they could go to Arlington. Because I mean, I got kind of
5-7 is a generous suggestion for this team at this point.
Oh yeah, like I got kind of ridiculed for where I had Arizona State in my power rankings from week 2 or going into this week. A lot of it was because of how they looked against Northern Arizona. So then following that up with losing and the way that they lost tonight just kind of feels weird. So yeah, Arizona State is probably closer to 6-6 than going to Arlington. K-State's probably closer to 5-7 than going to Arlington. Yeah. So those are the 2 clear losers. Oklahoma State, I just kind of thought that Mike Gundy would do something weird to make it like a 28-point loss instead of losing by 66. And I think that everybody at KSO picked Ohio over West Virginia.
No, I don't think I did. I was like, there's no way. There's no way a Big 12 team loses to a MAC school. Ohio in the last 3 seasons now has 2 wins against the Big 12 at home.
You don't Iowa State lost there 2 years ago. You don't go into Athens, Ohio, and win games.
Yeah, I mean, West Virginia might have had a better chance going to Athens, Georgia, and winning based off how Georgia handled Austin Peay today, 28-6. Let's go Peay. Fan, I assume your answer is also K-State.
Yeah. If I'm ranking them, I agree with Drew. K-State and Arizona State are the worst. I think K-State's the worst just because you lost an Army team that just lost to an FCS school. Like, there's no argument. Like, you can't go any way with that one. Arizona State's highest ranked Big 12 team, supposedly the standard bearer, and they're gone. Rich Rod saying, I'm not going to compromise my values to go 6-6. Like, I don't know. In this era of college football, good luck with that, Rich
Rod.
Kind
of the name of the game, big guy, is like doing what you can to maximize your win output.
Yeah, and then last would be Gundy. Like, I'm finally going to try to buy a team this year. Good luck with that. Then I'm going to say stupid
We bought
stuff.
TCU's backup quarterback.
I'm going to say stupid stuff to fire up Oregon before the game. Good luck with that. And then
you don't think that Rich Rod saying that his players can't be on TikTok, you think that that's a bad thing?
That's a great plan. That's a great plan. I'm sure he's going to find lots of players that want to be part of that program.
Hey, guys, I'm just telling you right now, I already instructed all the RAs, no PlayStations and Xboxes this year. Get them out of here. We're not letting them happen. Phones, it better be a track phone that can't even access the internet. Get them out of here. No smartphones. Yeah, that's good luck with that, Rich. Too bad they're not on K-State's schedule this year. Dang.
West Virginia also doesn't play UCF. I think they do, and they don't play Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. They only play one of the really bad teams.
Well, K-State gets UCF and Oklahoma State, so that should be fun to watch. I was gonna finish here. Miller has a couple of things that I want to throw up there. Would you guys think they're waiting till the bye to fix it? I'll say this: no, because number one, I don't think they know what they can fix right now, other than like offense. We've said you probably just need to lean way more into the passing game. But other than that, like this offensive line, you're not going to fix it. A defense, everybody's got a problem. So I don't know how you fix all 11 guys on the defense, plus everybody you're cycling in to try to get things figured out to work. And I can guarantee you, as much as people want to assume that these coaches are stupid because they're 1-2, they just lost to Army at home, and they went all the way to Ireland and got dominated in the second half by Iowa State. They realized there were problems after the first 2 weeks of the season. They've done everything they can to correct them now. This team just isn't in the position to get those corrected, and that's where the problem sets in that we've talked about over the course of this show. Fan, I want you to put on the fan hat here. So take off the the analytical side of fan. No more fanalytics. I want the fanatic fan here. Because Miller also said, I wish Colin Klein would come home. And in reference to this, it would obviously be the coaching situation. From your point of view, does this seem like things are headed down a road where this could be Chris Kleiman's last year in terms of, maybe it's not worth trying to continue to figure this out? And could this be the year that breaks him? Like, we know that November was really hard on him on the field and off the field last year. And so there was speculation that maybe last year could do it. You've got all these players that are going to be in a position to make a decision on their future after this year. Like, could it set up for that? And if you're K-State, like, Gene already had to help one coach make that decision because it was best for the program. The second part of that would be, would it be in K-State's best interest based off what you've seen over the last 7-8 games of football to unfortunately start to think about those conversations for a guy that he's clearly the second best coach in K-State football history. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great coach. I think he's been great for K-State. But right now, things don't look good, and the outlook is very, very bleak.
I mean, number one, the game has changed from when he was hired. Like, the sport is different, and I think that's a factor. I think it could be he's not. I don't want to fire him. Like, I wouldn't say fire him, but I think, I wouldn't say even at the worst case scenario, you don't fire him this year. Like, I mean, he's been a good coach for K-State. I don't think K-State's the type of program that we fire a coach for one bad year.
And I would agree too. I don't think you just go, you're gone, axe.
But under your scenario, I think it is possible that Kleiman reads the tea leaves and says, man, maybe this isn't for me. This style of college football isn't my thing. And then I think absolutely you go for Colin Klein. Like, that would be the next step, obviously, for K-State at this point in time. And I would be all for it. Now, again, it's very premature. There's a lot of games we played. But all of us have said it's a tough situation and it doesn't look good for K-State going into this year. So how does Kleiman handle a non-COVID awful year, and what does that look like in the NIL free transfer era for him, and how does he move forward with that type of team? So, I mean, again, I'm not calling for anyone to be fired that's the head coach of this program right now, but I do think there will need to be major changes if Kleiman is trying to stay here, if this season keeps going the way it looks like it's going.
And on that side, you would then have to think, like, will he be willing to make those changes like that? Because that's the thing where for the longest time Gundy wasn't willing to make those changes, and it wasn't until he essentially got this ultimatum from Oklahoma State, like, no, you're making these changes or it is over. And so we see what's happening is he's made the changes on Oklahoma State's terms. It hasn't fixed anything. It's maybe made it worse. Like, he made that hard decision in 2021 to get rid of Courtney Messingham. And I thought that would signal, okay, he can do it. But everything stayed the same from last year. And that was even before, like, the Connor Riley to the Cowboys thing happened. And I thought, I don't know, maybe you want to try to let Matt Wells be the guy here. And call the plays, but that wasn't going to happen. And so many other things stayed the same. And things just get stale. People stay in one place in coaching and playing in sports, and it's not right. Like, it's unfortunate. People try it, but it doesn't work out for whatever reason. You need a new voice, or you need some kind of reinvigoration. And maybe it's not necessarily the head coach, but like this defensive staff, everybody that's on it, except for Steve Stannard, has been here since day one for K-State. Now, some of them are in newer roles, like Joe Klanderman wasn't the DC day one, but he's been here since 2019. Same thing for all those guys over there. Like, do you need a new voice and a new philosophy? Because like you said, the game has changed since they showed up. And really, it's changed since they won the Big 12 title. Like, the portal and that stuff, it didn't explode and morph into what it was until really a year after that. Like, they were using it to their advantage. They did well in it, but the player movement wasn't as significant. And now with the NIL being off the rails, like, you're just in a really odd spot, and I don't know if they're built or want to continue to do it. But yeah, I would agree. It's not, you don't just fire him. I still think he's too good of a coach for you to do that. He doesn't deserve that, and I don't know that it necessarily even means that like the program is headed on a horrible path if he's still your coach next year. But if things don't get better, I do think you at least have those conversations if you're Gene Taylor, and you have to say like, and they'll suck to have, but you have to have them and just go, what do you see like your future as, and like where's the drive, and like here's the deal, we're worried that we might like miss out on this opportunity, because there's really no doubt right now Colin Klein's going to end up as a head coach at some point in college football. He's viewed that lofty by people. You are going to feel so incredibly disappointed would be the term, like depending on timing, like dumb, if you're K-State and you don't get the crack for Colin Klein to do it. Like if you are standing there and it is Colin Klein wearing bright orange next season, and you know he's there next to Pistol Pete and he's coaching Oklahoma State, or whoever it may be that is a similar type of program, like that will feel really strange, and you'll feel like, my goodness, we screwed up massively. I mean, K-State, you still do it with basketball. You look and go, they missed their opportunity on numerous occasions for Brad Underwood to be the guy. And we see what he's done, where he's been fantastic everywhere he's gone. He was great in the Big 12 at Oklahoma State for a year, and he's built Illinois into one of the perennial teams in college basketball now. You just don't want to, and you can't miss the opportunity for one of those guys when it comes around. And obviously the pull for Colin Klein is strong. Like it took a really significant move for Texas A&M to get him to leave. Like that Penn State job that Andy Kotelnicki got as the OC came to Colin Klein first. And Colin Klein was like, I can't leave K-State yet. Texas A&M was able to go a little above and beyond, and they were able to find a way to somehow get the job done. So that's what sucks, is we're game 3 and we're having to talk so big picture with this that like that's even on the table. And before the season started, you would have thought that it would have been Chris Klieman gets to do this on his own terms, as opposed to we need to have a serious conversation about where you think this thing's going. And that's where K-State's headed right now, is that it's going to be a true reflecting process. And what do both parties want here? So not a fun way to end the show, but nothing about this show has been fun. So we'll get out of here. We've crossed into Sunday. I'll give Drew and Fan each a final thought, and then I won't say anything except goodbye, and we'll talk to you on Monday. So, Drew, final thought.
I mean, I don't know where K-State goes after tonight. We're going to see on Friday night what happens, but I'm very concerned. You don't learn how to be tough and have a killer instinct overnight. So I think that when you have all of that, you kind of get concerned. You get concerned because the defense can't stop anyone right now. So you worry about what that's going to look like. And it just sucks at big picture. Like that's where we have to go right now. And it's not even fun big picture of this team's 3-0. Like they look like they could still make it to Arlington, look like one of the best teams in the Big 12. Hell, even if they were 2-1 and had lost a close game to Iowa State, came back and smacked North Dakota, smacked Army, I think we're still talking about how that K-State could still get to Arlington at some point. But now it's we're talking, who do you want to keep later on? Who do you want to play later on, and try to keep all these guys engaged? I mean, you can't really beat around the bush. There's going to be at least some coaching changes in the off season, and it just sucks that we're talking about that fully 2 weeks into the season and 3 games in for K-State. So like you would just hope that things would be a lot better at this point. I'll be the sappy one and say that the best part about this show was that we all got to do it together and just get it out.
Well, it's all about the friends and the memories you made on the way for Drew.
But these are like my scattered thoughts, because the longer that we've gone on, the more that I've like gone from like being angry about it, and like this was a loss that I took harder than some other ones, to just like accepting it. Like they're not a good team right now. Like this is, you're hoping that you can go 6-6, 7-5, and even that, like, it feels gross.
Yeah. Ugh. Ban, take us home.
Yeah, I mean, this team has a lot to prove. I mean, it's had a lot to prove all season, but I'm an optimist, so I continually keep thinking, well, things will get better.
Optimist Prime over here, fan.
I thought things would get better against North Dakota and we'd blow them out. We didn't. I thought things would get better in this game. I thought we'd blow Army out, and we didn't. And so now I don't know what to expect. And I don't blame fans who are upset and don't know what to expect either. It's not my MO to go burn it down on anything, so I probably won't do that. And I'm certainly not to that point yet.
You were close against North Dakota.
I mean, I was upset against North Dakota. I wouldn't quite burn it down mode yet. But
if you had to burn somebody, who would it be?
I'll just say, I mean, I think the biggest issue with this team is the defense, and I've got to see the defense get better against Arizona first, and then I've got to see the running game get better against Arizona second, and then I've got to see the special teams get better against Arizona third. So, I mean, I see issues in all three phases of the game, which is a problem. And I don't know if you fix all three in 1 week. If you can fix two of the three, maybe you have a chance to win the game. So, I mean, I think we just keep pushing it down the road. When will these questions get answered? And so far, the questions haven't been answered in a positive way, besides a late game comeback last week against a North Dakota team. So we'll keep watching this team. We'll keep seeing what they're going to do. We still won't know anything positive, I think, until at least the Baylor game. We can continue to learn negative things like we did tonight if things continue to go south like they have. So we're not in much of a mode to get much positive until we beat a good team like perhaps Baylor. But we could learn a lot of negative things between now and then, and that's not good. So I hate to be bleak, but that's kind of where we're at.
Well, what really sucks is that to this point, my fun meter got to a higher level for K-State basketball last season than it has for K-State football through 3 games. And that's not a good sign. All right, that'll do it for us today. I'm sure we've got more. Drew and I will spill more of the thoughts out throughout the week next week. And then DY will join me on Thursday for our preview of the Arizona game. I expect the views and downloads and listens on that to be sky high because the energy is going to be at an all-time level here. If you people enjoyed the show, you can subscribe, you can comment, you can do whatever. Really, I just want you to say a prayer for me, and that's I'm going to be fine tonight in the next couple days. But if you want to do me a solid, just ask the big guy to maybe delay my flight to Tucson early in the morning on Friday before I even leave Wichita, and then maybe I don't even have to go. Okay, I will go if the stars align. I will go. I'm not gonna not go, but it would not be the worst thing in the world right now if Mother Nature said, "Nope, bad weather, can't get you to Texas, can't get you on that flight to Tucson." Just don't let it happen when I'm sitting in the Dallas airport. I've spent enough time delayed in that airport over the last year to ruin my life.
You just
never again.
You just triggered me so hard there. But I was not prepared for a Dallas airport.
I've just been, I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I'm like, man, maybe those flights get canceled or delayed before I even leave Wichita. It's all right. It'll be an experience if we go there because I've heard Tucson, Arizona is lovely in September. For Drew Galloway, that's KSU fan. I'm Mason Voth. have a good night, a good morning, a good life, Cat fans, because that's really all you can hope for right now because your football team's not going to give it to you.